Hi, everybody. You're all very welcome to our webinar today, where we'll be talking about our newly launched Lean Library Workspace that was launched actually very only recently. So we're super excited to share that with you today. We'll give it another few minutes as people will join a bit later. But in the chat, to get the conversation going, while we wait for everybody, if you could let us know what led you to join today's webinar, and if there's a goal or challenge that you're facing at your library right now that you think Lean Library Workspace could help solve, that would be great. So you can get the chat going.
And also let us know you can hear and see us as well in the chat.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Yeah. I think everyone can hear us.
Perfect. I was just putting in the question there so I can move on to the next slide to get us started. So just a little bit of housekeeping. So first of all, I'll give a quick introduction to myself. I am Nicole Cunningham and I am the product marketing manager for Lean Library here at Technology from Sage, and I will be your host for today's webinar. And I am joined by my colleague today, Amy Sparrow, who is the marketing director of Technology from Sage, who will be talking you through all things Lean Library Workspace for today's webinar. And then in terms of a quick bit of housekeeping, so just said there, make sure that your audio and visual settings are working, and as you have confirmed already, that you can hear me and see the slides, that's great. But if you can't hear or see me, we recommend leaving the webinar and rejoining on Zoom. And as you join, you'll be prompted to check your audio and visual settings, and that there should do the trick. As always, please do connect with each other through the chat. And as we've already put the question and are ready to get discussion going. We will answer your questions when you put them in the Q&A box, either live or through the Q&A box or chat box, or at the end of the session, or we'll respond to them at a later date if we can't get to them today. Lastly, the webinar is being recorded today and it will be shared with you via email in the next day or two via Zoom. So hopefully most of you will have joined by now, and I'll move on to the agenda for today's webinar. So we've already got started with the welcome and housekeeping, and I'll move on to just a quick poll to set the scene of the webinar in a moment. Then Amy will run through a brief the brief history and an overview of Lean Library, and then move on to introducing you to Lean Library Workspace and give you a demo of that so you can see it in action. Then we'll finish with a Q&A and a discussion, and we'll start that off by a quick poll at the end. So yeah, I'm just going to launch the poll now to set the scene. And hopefully, Amy, can you see that on your screen just to make sure that it's live?
I can.
And hopefully we'll get some responses coming through just to get to know a bit more about you that are on the webinar today.
Great. I can't see any answers coming in yet, but I can see it up. Are people able to answer? Maybe I'll run through the questions. So question one being, where do your students and researchers that you support most often need library support within their research journey, within their research workflow? So we've got discovering content and accessing and resources, but not knowing what's available to them via the library, accessing resources, critically assessing resources, academic reading, annotating and making notes, academic writing and structuring papers, managing references and citation styles. Oh, I can see people are answering hot and heavy now, so they're coming in. So we'll give a few minutes on question one and then dive into question. Oh, quite people are jumping ahead as well. So I'll let Nicole, I'll let you read out the other questions too.
Yeah, so that was question one. And then the second one was, what does your library currently use to streamline access to library content and promote your services to users outside of the library website and the discovery layer? So for example, that would be Lean Library, LibG, and click on paywall, etc. And what reference management software or collaboration tools do you currently support at your institution? And we have some different answers there as well. And how many new tools do students and researchers need to learn to succeed academically? So that is what you actually expect as libraries of your students and researchers within your institutions to learn to succeed academically. I'll give that there just another moment, Amy, and then you can get started to make sure everybody has a chance. So I can see that discovering content and resources is where students and researchers most often need support. It's looking like LibKey is the most used tool in terms of streamlined access currently. And yeah, EndNote is taking first preference within the reference management. And it looks like 3 to 5 tools, and in between 5 to 8. That is in terms of how many new tools that the students and researchers are expected to learn. So I'll close that poll now. I'm sure you can see those on screen.
Yeah, I can see the results. Can someone let us know in the chat that we can see the results as well? But if not, we will share these with you after the webinar as well, because there's some really interesting responses have come through on this. Great. Thanks so much, Ali. Thanks, Penny. Okay.
Okay, so, then I'll hand it over to you, Amy.
Thanks so much, Nicole. Next slide, please. So, hi, everyone. If you want to go back one, actually, if that's okay, Nicole, before we dive into this. So before I introduce Lean Library Workspace, I wanted to take a step back to set the scene a bit and give a brief history and overview of Lean Library. As you have seen in the poll, not all attendees use or maybe be familiar with Lean Library. And if you are familiar with it, you might not all know the history of it either. So taking a look back, next slide, please, Nicole. Thank you. Lean Library was founded nearly a decade ago now in 2016, and it was created by librarians for librarians. It was an original innovator in the market, looking to support libraries in this changing landscape where their users are less and less going to the sort of physical library building or less and less to the library website, and more going on to sites like Google back then and ChatGPT now, really, or other OpenAI domain tools. Lean Library has a long-term and a long-held plan to support libraries in that shift from a collection-centric approach to a patron or user, whichever word you prefer, centric approach by embedding the libraries back into these modern workflows. And we've got the backing of Sage to continue championing the library and to continue doing this in the long term. So yeah, back in 2016, we launched as an access broker, providing users with access to library holdings or the subscribed resources from an app on their browser, which you'll see a little bit in a minute. But it was what I like to call an access broker with a difference. We pioneered with our assist messages feature, which enables libraries to surface tailored messages on any domain or subdomain, any website online. And then throughout the years, we continue to just bring more and more pillars of the library and library services into the offering. This isn't exactly a perfect timeline from top to bottom here, but we integrated with SpringShare to surface libguides, libchats, and other library guidance online, launched our Lean Library Futures offering in 2021, which enabled us to bring library discovery service online and lots of other cool features as well there, and acquired SciWheel back in 2022 to embed the library into sort of reference management and authoring stages of research journeys too. And all the while, we continue to develop and continuously improve the sort of traditional access broker features. We expanded content coverage, brought in open access ebooks to the offering, and even linking users to where libraries have a physical print copy of a book or a resource instead of just an online or digital copy too. And that brings us to today, to 2025. where we're launching Lean Library Workspace, or have just launched. And that goes way beyond the access, discovery, and guidance part of the workflows to embed the library in every stage of the research journey to provide this end-to-end research support, which I'm going to talk about. And we're not stopping there, not the focus of today's webinar, but this year we're also further streamlining access to research articles in just one click. We know there's sort of this many click nightmare where users have to click 5 or 6 times or even more, I think it's 12 by average, to get the actual PDF of an article. So we're streamlining that to be just one click, both within the Lean Library extension and also to catch users who don't have the extension. So streamline that directly from the library's discovery layer. Next slide, please. Thank you. So that summarizes the history of what Lean Library was traditionally. And just to put it in a nutshell, it's an app for your library on your patron's browser. And it took that library from being this destination where users went to on the diagram on the left to taking your library to your users instead, this diagram on the right. And you can see Lean Library is embedded here wherever the users are, whether that's Wikipedia, ChatGPT, PubMed, publisher site, Statista, Google Scholar, and so on. Next slide, please. Fab. So I'm going to quickly run through the benefits and the features of the sort of traditional Lean Library offering as well before I delve into Workspace. So these aren't all of them, but just some. So first of all, it connects users to library holdings or subscribed content that they license through a publisher site and can increase usage up to 40%. It also acts as a promotional tool for your library by promoting your library, whether it's a branding, the library logos, it's customizable branding, your messages, your library FAQs and tools, or your content, showcasing specific content and special collections to users up to 100,000 times per year. Unlocking open access ebooks and articles, saving users estimated 50K per year on paywalls, and putting the library guidance or instruction on any site or resource online. I'm going to show you this in action in a second. Bringing that power of the library discovery service to Google Scholar, saving users up to 3 minutes per search by streamlining that access and that workflow, while also building information literary skills and critical thinking skills with our integration with SCITE, S-C-I-T, S-C-I-T-E, apologies, and we can put it in the chat, with article trust ratings for the resources they're looking at and retraction warnings too. So users can start to actually really assess the resources they're searching for at the point that they're searching for them rather than later down the line. So I'm not going to demo all of these, but I want to give you a little taste. So next slide, please, Nicole. And it is a video, but before we press play, in this example, it goes quickly, so I'll explain it. In this example, you're going to see a student hitting a paywall on Amazon. They're searching for a book, and how the Lean Library pop-up directs them to where this is open, where this is freely available to them. So see if you can press play, Nicole. Fab. So they're going to this book, 100 Americans Making Constitutional History. And there we get that pop-up, a little blurry here, saying go to ebook. And you may have also seen in that video, in this sort of clip, there was also the option to check for print, to check if the library had it in print in their holdings instead. Next slide, please, Nicole. And there's another video, but before we press play, just because it goes fast, I'll explain it first. So in this one, I find this one super cool, which is why I included it. You're going to see the Lean Library pop-up surface library guidance, and this guidance is in the form of an AI course, so an online course on how to use ChatGPT for research, what prompts to use, sort of the ethical considerations, etc. It's surfacing this to a user via the extension as they're trying to access and use ChatGPT. I think it's actually the next one, Nicole. Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. So if we press play here, so they're on the OpenAI domain. You can see in that pop up, there's the course. They can take it within the embedded window or pop it out. So here, this was a free course by Dr. Leo Lowe, if you're familiar with him, sort of a big name at the moment in AI, and how libraries can support students and researchers in using AI for research. Thanks so much, Nicole. So next slide, please. Great. Okay, so that's enough history and overview. And if you do want to learn more about the entire Lean Library offering. We have tons of resources. We can share a video at the moment that we've got, a new promotional video. Please get in touch if you would like a demo. That's probably the best way to see it, a tailored demo. And yes, and I can see Nicole just put in the chat the product page as well. And once this webinar ends, you will get an exit survey asking if you do want to see a full demo end-to-end of all those features, not just those two I chose. Okay, so introducing the library workspace. Next slide, please. Fab, thank you. So Lean Library Workspace is an entirely new offering as part of Lean Library that supports the library and its users beyond that traditional content discovery, access and guidance phases of the research workflows. I just sort of ran through them, through to reference management, collaboration, and authoring with ease, all the while bringing back this actionable insights and data back to the library and librarians. So what it does, it puts your library at the heart of every stage of that research journey. Next slide, please, Nicole. Thank you. So what it does, it connects the Lean Library browser extension, which you just sort of saw in action then, to a new user website, Lean Library Workspace, and accompanying connected Google Docs and Microsoft Word add-ons. And this is to provide an uninterrupted research rhythm for users, this end-to-end tool. Next slide, please. Fab, thanks. So what do I mean by uninterrupted rhythm, research rhythm, and why is it important? So this diagram here is what you're looking at is the ecosystem of technology from Sage products and how they work at different parts of the research journey. So if we're looking starting at the top with our Talis offerings, you can see this is prescribed reading, so resource list, reading lists, that guided discovery, yeah, maybe a textbook they're assigned for a class, through to the engagement, instruction and lectures. And then we're coming into the sort of latter part of the research workflow here, where Lean Library and Cywell sit. So when we acquired Cywell, you can see it's sat at a later stage of research workflows. Lean Library had traditionally covered that independent discovery. There's much more than we could, it covers that we couldn't fit on this diagram, but yeah, that information literacy, yeah, library guidance, all of that fits in there. And then Cywell covers that referencing, collaboration and authoring work. When we acquired Cywell, our plans were to integrate it and to stop that disruption between one part of the workflow and the next. We know that from speaking to our users and our customers, so other librarians like you, that jumping between these tools is time consuming, it's fiddly, and can cause a barrier for drop off for students and researchers. We know when students hit paywalls, they can give up on their search. When they hit a sort of end of their research, they can't find the next relevant article, it can happen there as well. And also they have different levels of support requirements. So some libraries can support an access broker and a reference manager, and we know librarians and libraries are increasingly strapped for time and resource. And oh, sorry, I'm just checking that it's being recorded. Sorry to interrupt, I just got a notification.
Yeah, it's definitely recording now. I'm not sure what happened. Carry on.
All right, apologies everyone. Got a notification pop up on my screen. And yeah, also the libraries and librarians who are supporting these tools, it can be cumbersome for them too. So next slide, please. So what we did is that we consolidated and rebranded and brought in Cywell and there's tools and that technology into the Lean Library ecosystem. And what that's given us is this connected ecosystem with these four components, let's say. So the browser extension, which I showed you, but a ton of new functionality in it, which I will demo later. The Lean Library Workspace website, which we will show you today. The Google Docs and Microsoft Word add-ons, and the librarian dashboard, which is, yeah, where the librarians, the library admins who control your instance of Lean Library for your institution, manage everything and get those insights and get that data back. So next slide, please, Nicole. I'm going to run through each of these. Okay, so first and foremost, so the Lean Library browser extension. So users can instantly discover, access, and save resources. We've got a little mock-up of it here, but I will show you it in action. And it can do all those traditional things that I mentioned, so unlocking that free and legal access to resources, streamlining access to library content and holdings, all that stuff I spoke about earlier, and some of the examples I showed you. But there's a ton of new functionality, which is that users can connect the extension now to their personal workspace, so their personal accounts on the Lean Library Workspace website, which we'll show you. They can save single or multiple references to projects, import a bunch of citations from the extension, and also highlight and annotate directly on web pages or PDFs collaboratively with others and save that into their workspace, so add notes or annotations. And I think you can see it in some of those mock-ups there. Next slide, please, Nicole. Thank you. So the Lean Library Workspace website. So Workspace is the easiest to use reference manager by far. And that isn't just my words, that is coming from users. And I'll talk a bit about that later. So you can visit it now. So you can see it live now and try it out at workspace.leanlibrary.com. And Nicole, if you don't mind dropping that in the chat at some point, that would be helpful. And what happens here is your users create their own personal workspace. They create an account, save their references, save all their work here. And how they do that is two methods. So they can either authenticate by IP, your institution's IP, or SSO. And we do also offer individual subscriptions to this. So an individual can use this. We have a freemium offer, and we do have a B2C offering that we'll be introducing to. And what they can do on this website is organize their research with ease, with projects, with these flexible tagging systems. And as they're creating their projects and adding more articles and resources to a project, they get AI recommended relevant articles. So based on what they're adding, we can suggest more things, more relevant research they might want to look at. Similarly, they can highlight and annotate those web pages and PDFs from that, like I mentioned, on the browser extension. They can highlight and annotate resources in Workspace website as well. And share projects. So it's a collaborative, completely collaborative tool. They can share projects with their teams. They can collaboratively annotate and see everyone's, sorry, I'm just seeing the questions coming in. See everyone else's on their shared projects and resources and references. And also that they can access it anywhere, anytime, from any device. It's cloud-based, we have unlimited storage, unlimited projects, which means I know some reference managers add extra fees for more storage. We don't, it's completely unlimited, and it's the same experience across all devices that users might use. Next slide, please, Nicole. Thank you. And then we've got the Google Docs and Microsoft Word add-ons. So with these, they help them write and cite smarter and faster. And you can see the mock-ups here on this screen. And what this enables users to do is to access all that's needed to author work in one location. And if you do go to look for the Lean Library add-ons at the moment, I believe they're still currently branded as SciWill. They're about to change any day. You'll notice the SciWill websites obviously all now Lean Library. Some of the domain changes are still happening or might not appear immediately for all users. It supports over 7,000 citation styles, so depending on what your library uses, what your institution uses, or if different departments uses, it will be supported. And they can search very easily and add references by the particular project they've saved it in or the tag they've saved it as they write, so just saving a bunch of time. And ultimately to insert these perfectly formatted bibliographies in an instant. And that helps both sort of the undergrad students or newer students who maybe don't have citation skills, maybe have never referenced before, don't know what academic writing is, but also then really helps maybe more experienced researchers who are doing these massive literature reviews, who have so many references, years and years worth of reference libraries. It saves them a hell of a lot of time. Next slide, please. Thanks very much. And Nicole, just calling out, I'm not actually looking at the chat, so if there are questions that are coming up, I know we have a big Q&A at the end, but if there's anything to ask in the meantime, please do shout out to me, Nicole.
Yeah, I'll let you finish off this section and we can stop then.
Fab. Okay, and then lastly, so that fourth component, if you remember I showed you the four, is the librarian dashboard. And this is just for the library admins, not for the users. And this is where you can gain these actionable insights and stats via the librarian dashboard. So not only do the library admins get all the traditional Lean Library usage stats and sort of configuration settings here, they can also see a ton of new data into these sort of previously unseen or less seen stages of the research journey. So they get statistics on sort of the usual, like active users, that they can see numbers of projects users are working on, how many resources are being viewed in Workspace, the references saved, highlights and annotations being made, those discussions being had, and those cited articles, what content's being used, what content's actually being used and cited. Next slide, please. Thanks very much. So what does this mean? What are the benefits? For your users, it's that uninterrupted research rhythm. So it's threefold. One, they can instantly discover, access, and save resources, and that's really done through the extension. Two, those effortlessly manage references, annotate resources, and collaborate on projects. And that's really largely done on the Workspace website. And then three, write, cite, and author their work smarter and faster. Next slide, please. And then for the library, on the flip, it puts your library at the heart of every research journey and every stage of that journey. So really the benefits here, beyond those traditional benefits that I showed you earlier for Lean Library, is that you're gaining deeper and actual insights into your users and research workflows that you maybe didn't see as much before. Two, you can really help enhance student success. It is a really easy to use tool. It's very good for onboarding, and it's one tool that does it all. And also boost research productivity. We haven't got all the data yet, but we're going to look into how much time a tool like this can save users during their searches. And I know we gave that stat earlier of Lean Library can save up to 3 minutes per content search for a user. Now Lean Library Workspace, we're looking to do those other productivity saves throughout the workflow. And then also reducing overwhelm with this one end-to-end tool for the entire research workflow. I think in one of the poll questions earlier about how many tools and how much sort of new software students and researchers are meant to use or like need to learn as they come to university. I think the vast majority of answers there, or the mix, was around that there's many and it can be a bit of a learning curve, or that there's too much and it can cause a lot of stress. I saw those answers come up, and maybe we'll share those poll results with you later as well. And lastly, it's maximizing the budgets. It's sort of removing this need to invest in multiple solutions for different tools that do different things. It's looking to combine this into one offering. Next slide, please, Nicole. And don't just take my word for it. So it's trusted by researchers worldwide. So these stats here today are currently our current active users, our current stats on Cywil, on Lean Library Workspace that previously was Cywil. So this is taking the current Cywil user base over to Workspace, as now it's been combined into Lean Library Workspace. And we've got these two, I really love these two quotes. So on the right, we've got one from a PhD student from the Max Planck Institute, saying it's the best scholarly tool I've seen so far in terms of practical usage. And another one from a postdoctorate fellow, saying that they love it more than papers and EndNote. It's intuitive, quick, and easy. Next slide, please. I think that's now the demo. Yeah, so should we pause here for chat, Nicole?
Yes, I think that's a good idea. I think Ali has actually already answered the question, but we got a question in. Our library supplier made the following statement about Lean Library. There is direct access to licensed content without complicated VPN connections or manual logins. How does this work technically? As I understand, there can only be direct access to free content, for example, open access. This means that our customers still need a login or VPN connection if they want to access licensed content. What can you say about the statement of our library supplier?
Okay, that's a really great question. So I have a whole slide on this, which is annoyingly not in this deck, about how Lean Library, I'm just going to get it up on my screen as well so I can talk to it a bit clearer, but about how Lean Library integrates and connects with all your library authentication systems. So, and all your library holdings. So let me just get it up. Give me 1 second. And I'd be interested, Nicole, into what Ali said on that, just while I get this up to give my full answer.
Yeah, Ali responded. We use Lean Library with Easy Proxy. So Lean Library adds the Easy Proxy prefix to any site that we have access to content. So once a user has logged in, they then stay logged in for the rest of their journey as they move from one publisher platform to another.
Ali, that's brilliantly worded. Thank you so much. And I've got my slide up, which I won't share, but I'll just talk through it now. So this is sort of a non-exhaustive overview of what we do and our integrations and capability. But we know every article and ebook your library has licensed electronic content to, because we integrate with OCLC, EBSCO, Ex Libris. So yeah, we know that. And we also know all domains your library has a license to. so we can point your patrons to the door with the right key. So whether you use Shibboleth, Open Athens, Easy Proxy, we know essentially your ILS and then your authentication system, and then that brings your library to patrons and your patrons back to your library that way. So it unlocks those domains. But I think Ali put that brilliantly. I will follow up in the maybe in the discussion at the end, because I'm a bit wary of derailing this, or I will follow up also with content on this and how it works. So that is when we set up for libraries. We do also integrate with that open access content that I mentioned earlier. So we integrate with Unpaywall, the OAPN Foundation for ebooks, and lots of other repositories and resources. So when users hit a paywall, so they hit a paywalled article, first of all, we search to see if you have it in your library holdings, if your library has subscribed access to it on a publisher site, and if you don't, we will look to search those databases to see if that is available open access somewhere. And if it is, we take them off with one click to that. But Ali's correct. Once the user authenticates once as part of your institution, they don't have to do it again, as we'll skip to that. Thanks, Nicole. Anything else?
Yeah, we just got another question through the Q&A there. I'll come back to the first one later on, but Ruth asked, we've had problems in the past getting browser add-ons through our cyber security team. Can you comment on this with regard to Lean Library?
I can't, based on your particular, I'd be interested to what institution you're at, Ruth. I know different universities, IT have really different rules on this. We have a really clear privacy policy that we can share on how it works. And we know we haven't had trouble with our current library partners. And we actually even have library partners who mass deploy the extension on institution machines, so institutional laptops or desktops in labs, etc., as well as a user's own personal laptop, which is where I think a lot of the usage comes from, is from the personal laptop too. But I wouldn't be able to comment on your specific library. But what I can say is that we provide all the information about security, what we do with data, etc., to make that as streamlined as possible. And we haven't, I hope some of the our development manager teams are on that call and might on the webinar and might correct me, but I don't think we've had an issue with the library partner yet, but we haven't been able to do that.
Perfect. We have two people with their hands raised, but I might leave that just till the end to allow you to talk, just to not get too far.
Perfect. Let's finish in the demo. We've got a couple more poll questions, and then we have tons of time for discussion. And yeah, if your hands raised, we'll unmute you, or yeah, ask for the Q&A, etc. as well. Next slide, please, Nicole. Oh, sorry, muted myself. So I'm going to show you a video. Do you mind pressing pause, Nicole, before we play it? And so what you're going to see, I'm going to talk ahead of it, and then we're going to just see if it plays. I'm hoping we don't get a lag. If we do, we can always pause it, and I will send the link in the chat so you can watch this video another time. But what you're seeing here is the sort of end user experience, someone who is searching on PubMed, as you can see, for a specific article. And what you're going to see is that new workspace functionality in that Lean Library browser extension. So what they're doing is they're saving references, they're commenting on references, and taking it off to their workspace. So I'm going to let you press play now, Nicole, and let's hope this comes through clearly. Fab, it looks clear for me. So you can see they've clicked on the Lean Library pop-up there and can see all 10 references on this page, and not even for a single resource, all 10 that are possibly on this page. They've selected which ones they want and are creating a new project directly from the extension here, naming the project, just a test one here. And that project's going to be saved in their personal workspace account. So they've added that in, and they can go then view that in their workspace. And here you're seeing the workspace website and the resource that's in that, and it's in their project, it's in Nicole's project, so you can see. And Nicole's going to add some private tags to categorize this work as important. And it's all color-coded. And you can see she can add it to her reading list, remove from her reading list, and then go to the actual dashboard. So she's got 5 references saved in that test project. And here she's viewing them, adding tags at the high level across this. And this is a private project. You can see if you look on the bar on the left, this is a private project, but she can also have shared ones. And here on the PDF, you can see the user is highlighting and making notes that she can save. So it really builds those academic reading skills. And it's timestamped and it says who's added it. So particularly for shared projects, you can see which users added it, if it's your colleague, if it's your peer, if it's another student. And then she can go and see all her notes in one nice view here. And there, that reading list, if you can remember, she marked an item to reading list and removed it. And can also import all these references that she just saved or create a manual reference as well. And you can see there, it went quite fast, but you can import references from other reference managers. There's EndNote, Mendeley, all of that. And again, the search is back online, back on PubMed for a specific article here. And here you can see the highlight and annotation feature actually on the web page. So this is into PDF. This is the HTML of the document. The web page, you can see Nicole can add those notes straight there. And again, through the extension, she's going to go view that in Workspace. We can also see a quick view of all her notes and import those articles if need be. And because it's fully integrated, Nicole can go view in her personal workspace. And again, you get this view in the view of her articles, her resource, with the abstract, with the notes, all in there. And you can see how Lean Library Workspace has been added to the Google Scholar overview, that site feature where they have the other reference managers like EndNote and Mendeley were there, I believe. Thanks very much, Nicole. So next slide. And I'm going to pop in the chat if Nicole hasn't already, the Workspace website, because you can create a free account. It's limited to 3 projects. And yeah, some of the features are limited. You can go create a free account and try it out for yourself as well. Oh, sorry, Nicole, next slide. Thank you. Videos on via Zoom are always tricky. I think you jumped through to the next video rather than slide by mistake there.
Sorry, Amy, it's jumping out of the presentation when I go onto that slide. Give me 2 seconds.
No worries, take your time. Let's go to that. There we go. Sorry about that. We're right on time. So, like I was saying, I encourage you, I'm going to drop the Workspace link into the chat. Go create your own account and play around with it so you can try it out. It is limited what you can do on the free account. But if you really want to see an in-depth demo of it, please get in touch. One of our DMs can do it for you and really talk you through everything there. So back on to the poll and discussion. So over to you, Nicole. Thank you.
Hopefully, can we see that now to kickstart the discussion?
I can.
Just 3 short questions. And hopefully you can see it too. So the first one is, how does your library currently support students and researchers in navigating reference management, citation skills, and discovering academic content? So how do you do this right now within your libraries? Whether that is like during orientation weeks, in-person workshops, virtual workshops, etc. Question 2 is, after seeing the demo of Lean Library Workspace, which user groups at your institution do you think this will benefit from this all-in-one research workflow tool? whether that is undergraduate students who are just starting to come in, postgraduate students, early career researchers, research staff, faculty members, or library staff. And lastly, what potential benefits do you envision this type of all-in-one tool would have for students, researchers, or your library? So I'll give it a few minutes for answers to come in for that.
Thanks so much, Nicole. And we can share the results afterwards as well, so we can see it on the screen as they're coming in. Thanks so much, everyone. We're getting some great, 100% this is great. We're getting good uptake. Interesting to see for question 2 about which users at your institution do you think would benefit from an all-in-one research tool like Workspace. We have sort of a rough mix across undergrad students, postgrad, early career researchers, library staff, and then a bit of a spike for research staff and faculty members. Oh, I'm speaking too soon. The percentages are evening out. We'll share the results at the end. We unfortunately can't show them as they're coming in, but we'll give it a minute longer and then we'll display them.
Okay, it seems to have quietened down a bit on the poll answers, so I'll end the poll and share the results with you all.
Amazing. Can everyone see the results now? They've come up for me. Maybe we'll run through them, Nicole. Oh yes, thanks, Ali.
Perfect. So in terms of the first question, it looks like a lot of them have the same amount percentage. So how does your library currently support students and researchers in navigating the reference management, citation skills, and discovering academic content? So during orientation week, in-person workshops, virtual workshops and webinars, online guides and tutorials, and one-on-one support sessions seem to be all very much the same, which is interesting. And then in terms of what user groups at your institution do you think this would benefit most in terms of Lean Library Workspace? Surprisingly, it's research staff and faculty members. So if anyone would like who answered that would like to elaborate in the chat as to why you've picked that, we'd love to know what the rationale behind that is. And then in terms of what potential benefits do you envision this type of all-in-one tool would have for students, researchers, and the library? The winner on that one was upskilling new students with reference management and also saving time and boosting productivity for researchers, but also reducing student overwhelm and tool fatigue and boosting usage of the library's content and resources also was well up there. So hopefully you got to go through that and might have had some takeaway from it, but I'll stop sharing those. And then if there's any question, I can see that 2 people still have their hands raised, so I'm gonna allow you to talk, but maybe it might be by mistake, but I'll just.
Yeah, please do. If you want to speak directly and ask a question out loud, raise your hand and we'll unmute you, or we'll enable you to talk and unmute yourself. So I think it's Rasa and Graziano.
It might have been by mistake. It's easily
I think it was from earlier, yeah. And then any other questions? I've seen it. I'm still catching up with the chat, and I've seen some come through the Q&A. So Nicole, I will hand over to you as moderator. Did something come up?
Yeah. I think. Did somebody unmute themselves there if you want to talk out? No, maybe not.
Yeah, I have another question, or I want to ask the one-click access to the resources. I still don't really understand it. So that means that people have to log on to Lean Library, and with that you will get the the credentials, so the say the login ID, whatever the local identity management system usually sends to the provider of the ebook or the journal or whatever, and you hand that over to the provider. Do I understand that correctly?
Sort of, not quite exactly. So what I can do, because it's quite technical, so I can talk about it here, but I've got a whole support article that I'm going to pop in the chat, Ulrika, that will explain the sort of technical aspect of it. But there's different, it depends what resource you're talking about. So for Lean Library, so without Workspace, so Workspace is where users create their own account. Without that, users never actually have to create an account on Lean Library. They just download the extension and select as a member of your institution. We will have set up with you, with your library, with your institution, that authentication set up and integrated with all your discovery layer, your holdings, etc., ahead of time. So once during setup of that extension, users have to authenticate once as part of your institution, and then that linking is done in the back end, which I'm gonna put a article in the chat that will explain this far better than I can.
Yeah, but for example, in our institution, we also have lots of users that are not members of the university. So our identity management system has different roles for them. So with the login ID, as a university member, you can access things via VPN tunnel or shibboleth. But if you're not a member of our university, then you can't. You can still use an extension. We have a libkey at the moment, so that you know that you have access to it, but then you would have to come to the library to gain access to it. And you wouldn't be allowed to do it from at home via VPN tunnel, or you couldn't do it technically. That can Lean Library do that too? Recognize which person is actually a member of the university and who isn't?
I'd have to understand a little bit more about what you mean your users who aren't part of the institution and how they generally get access to your content. So you mentioned shibboleth and you mentioned a VPN tunnel or easy proxy. So we integrate with shibboleth. So if they are currently using shibboleth to authenticate, or are you saying these users are outside of that?
Well, we actually recommend using a VPN tunnel, and then you log in via our identity management system that is set up by the IT services of the university. But there are some providers where you can also sign in via shibboleth using the same credentials, the login ID and your password. But as I said, we have external users and they are allowed to use our resources when they're on the site. So when they're in the library, walk-in users. And they shouldn't be allowed to gain access from their computer at home. They can see, or it's okay for them to see what we have access to, but they shouldn't be allowed to gain access from their own computer. They would have to come to the library to do that.
Okay, so because that's such a specific use case, what I'll do is I'll follow up with you separately, if that's okay, just so I make sure I don't want to give you the incorrect answer on here. But from what I think you're saying, from my understanding, is that absolutely works, because that will work the usual route, depending on which authentication they do. So if it is a VPN tunnel that they're using, we should be able to work with that if you do an IP authentication, or however it is. So I will follow up with you offline if that's okay.
Yeah, fine.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Great. Another question came in, Amy, as to, it was actually a while back. I'm curious to know how this is different from Citavi.
That's a great question. So the workspace, the reference management aspect of it is different in a few ways. So for Citavi, I believe they offer both a Windows and web versions. They do a actual app and then the online version, and the experience between them is different. So the app experience versus the web version is very different. So Lean Library Workspace ensures this really consistent experience across devices and operating systems. So they don't have to switch between that desktop and browser versions, which means they can access from any device at any time. And it also removes that sort of platform restrictions that can come into place and make it more user-friendly. Citavi is a really great tool for that like in-depth reference management. But I think Lean Library, where we differ, Lean Library Workspace focuses more on like reducing inefficiencies across that workflow and ensuring that seamless access, collaboration, and citation management. It's a more user-friendly tool, in my view. Lean Library Workspace is sort of a more entry level in that way. And I believe, I'll have to look deeper into it, but the Citavi has a built-in app search tool for finding resources. So there is that app search tool they have, where of course in every workspace, we focus on integrating with and surfacing those library resources instead. So driving more usage of actually library content and resources, or surfacing open access alternatives where a library resource isn't available. So yeah, I think that those are the main differences. And also I believe Citavi users currently pay for additional storage, as is the case with a lot of reference managers. But with Lean Library Workspace, it's that unlimited capacity, unlimited storage, as it is cloud-based. So I would say those are the key differences. I do have more information on this. We have a sort of side-by-side comparison chart on this that I can share with you.
Yeah. There was another question that came in on the chat there. When I try to install Lean Library Open extension, I get a strange message. Is it possible that the hospital from which we are connecting is blocking us? I feel like we'll probably have to follow up with that. I'll take note.
Yeah, I think anything that's a very specific note that's coming up, I probably won't be able to answer live, but we will. So all of the questions are saved, or the chat's saved, because we might not have time for everything today. So if there's anything specific, I can get back to you offline, or please do just raise a support article, and we can support ticket rather, and we can drop the support ticket in the chat as well.
Yeah. And another question. In terms of training materials, someone mentioned that they have training materials for other reference managers. What training or support is there for users on the Library Workspace, and is it easy to learn?
So there's a lot is the answer here. We were very keen, particularly because for Workspace, it was consolidating the Cywil offering into Lean Library. So there was already a lot of existing onboarding, extensive knowledge base of the Cywil had that we've now adapted and updated with this new Workspace functionality. So it's an entire end user focused support site. And that comes with, the knowledge base articles, how-to videos, all of that. Plus we have the librarian facing support site. So for the librarian admins, what's sort of the flip reverse of that, and that support and how to support your users. But one thing we were really keen to support on was helping librarians help their users with it, because we know that libraries like to tailor their training materials. But what we've done is created a LibGuide that is completely available. I can drop the link in the chat. So a Lean Library Workspace LibGuide that is ready to use or ready to save and create a copy of and adapt if you want to tweak it for your specific institution. And we also have actually sort of gone one step further. So I mentioned earlier in the history of the Lean Library development that we integrate with SpringShare and can surface that library guidance, LibGuides, LibChats on any site online. So that LibGuide is actually available for all Lean Library customers in the librarian dashboard to toggle on and surface on the Workspace domain. So any users who come to Workspace, if you're pushing users to go sign up, to try it out, from the Lean Library pop-up, we can actually surface that LibGuide so it onboards them straight away there as well. So we're just trying to remove as much of the training onus off the library as possible, or provide you with sort of tools that you can go off and adapt straight away. And we have a ton of promotional tools as well to help drive usage, etc. I'll drop the link in the chat. Thank you very much, Nicole, for popping that in. So the LibGuide's there, and I'll also put the library resources page that we've got that has the assets, the design assets and all of that there as well. But in terms of the onboarding experience, the learning curve, it's low. So if you look at sort of the ref works, the end notes, the sort of big beasts of reference managers, the user experience is really different in Workspace. It is very easy. It's a very simple learning curve. And so I really encourage you to just go try it out. But we know and get consistent feedback that it is simple enough to use, particularly for undergrad students who maybe don't even know what referencing is, or haven't done this before and are writing their first ever project for class. And then it is quite extensive, going straight up to support more experienced researchers as well.
Perfect. And another question, some of our experienced researchers are wedded to EndNote. does that mean that they can't use it, or how do they work together?
No, very good and very important question, I think, there. That we know that there'll be some researchers or a lab group at your institution that is super wedded or super passionate about their reference manager, has built their library on it for years and years and years, and we don't expect libraries to move researchers off other platforms if they don't want to. Lean Library works with all of them. It is completely flexible in that way. And we do have a traditional just general cite feature, CITE cite feature on Lean Library that is just the basic get citation on any article, ebook, wherever you land online. To get the citation, get that information, and you can copy it and put it into RefWorks or EndNote or whatever it is. We understand that not one reference manager fits all, so we need to have that flexibility.
And then another question, in the Lean Library timeline, you mentioned the article access without the need for the browser extension. Can you expand on this?
Yes, that is coming soon. So we actually hosted a webinar on this quite recently, so I can also find the recording link and put it in the chat, and keep an eye out. We'll be doing announcements on this as well. So Lean Library currently really streamlines access to resources by taking a user to the publisher site in general, or where the alternative is in the library's holdings. But there's still then a couple more clicks for them to get to that actual PDF, right? So what we're looking at is a streamlining article access in just one click to that PDF. So it's one click, sort of bypasses everything, and they get that PDF right there. That functionality we're building is initially powered by Get FTR, Get Full Text Research. If you know that provider, we can put that in the chat too. But then we are looking to sort of dramatically increase content coverage beyond Get FTR as well. And what that will be is a simple Get PDF button that does appear in the extension. So we are having it in the extension, but we're also having it as an injectable widget that libraries can put on their discovery layer, whether that's Primo, Summon, whatever you use. It's not ready just yet, but it is coming, I think, in the coming months, essentially, or potentially even weeks. And then that is sort of a floating Get PDF button that takes them straight to the article they want. Just shaves off a bit of time. And thank you, Nicole, you've shared that recording in the chat where you can learn more.
Yeah, and I just have one last question. I think we'll have time for one more. In the chat, our library currently uses Lean Library. Can we get Lean Library Workspace too, or how does that work?
Yeah, so it's not a separate product. It is completely included in the Lean Library offering. What we've done is available for all Lean Library customers now, and so there's a two-step stage of authentication setup. So raise a support ticket with support. They can set you up with that IP or SSO authentication on the Workspace website, and then you can toggle it on for your users at a time of your choosing. So whenever that is, maybe that's the new term, or whenever you're ready to toggle that on for your users through the librarian dashboard. So it isn't an extra fee. If you're a Lean Library customer, you have got this in your offering.
Right, I think that is everything. I don't see anything else.
Amazing.
In the chat. So yeah, we've ended just on time, unless you have anything else, Amy.
No, just to say thank you so much, everyone, for joining today, and thank you, Nicole, for moderating. We get a file of all the chat questions, so anything where someone's asked a specific question, or Rika, I'll follow up with you, and anyone who's asked something specific, either please do raise a support ticket, or I can get back to you as well, and we'll share this with your development manager. Thanks so much for coming. Once we leave and end the webinar, you'll get a little short exit survey. Please take a minute to reply if possible. Let us know if you want to know let us know if you want to learn anything more about Lean Library Workspace or Lean Library, and can give us feedback on what you want from our webinars in general. And thank you so much for attending. We hope you go check it out, and have a go at the free version yourself. Thanks so much.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Amy. Thank you, everybody.
Everyone.
Bye-bye.